Before you listen to the Tech Talk Daily podcast, I have to ask, are the high levels of uncertainty you're experiencing keeping you from making bold moves? Are you able to clearly see and act on the game-changing opportunities the pandemic has created? I'm Daniel Burris, serial entrepreneur, global technology futurist, and disruptive innovation expert, and right now, you have a choice to make. You can react to problems and disruptions after they happen, or you can learn to accurately anticipate disruptions before they disrupt and identify and pre-solve problems before they happen, giving you the ability to turn disruptive change into your biggest advantage. If you want to take control of your future and make a significant impact now and in the years ahead, join thousands of leaders from around the world by becoming a member of my Anticipatory Leader System, where you'll get the latest insights, processes, tools, and virtual coaching that will give you the certainty and confidence you need to actively shape a better future for you and your organization. Go to techblogwriter.co.uk and click on Daniel Burris.
Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, and we are on the run up to holiday season now, and time to prepare our inboxes for the inevitable Black Friday and Cyber Monday emails, which will bombard our inbox for the next few months. So, upon my command, set up those message rules. You will thank me later. But today's guest is going to take us on a journey that will take us from the beginning of the internet to where we are now. And he is the VP of Solutions Engineering at a company called ThousandEyes, which is an intelligence company dubbed the XRay machine of the internet. They were recently acquired by Cisco, and their clients include the likes of Microsoft, Slack, and Twitter, and so many other household names. So today, we're going to learn how ThousandEyes helps their clients to understand how the internet and networks work across the world, solving connection complexities from global networks to users. But enough from me. Buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Paris, where Yogi is waiting to speak with us now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Definitely. Thank you very much, Neil, for having me on the show. This is a great opportunity to share with you a bit what we are doing at ThousandEyes. But before that, let me introduce myself. First of all, I've always been fascinated by the internet, and this fascination came in many, many years ago. I would say in the late 90s, when I first got connected to the internet with a modem. Believe it or not, I was connected at 33.6 kilobit per second, and that was an amazing experience. And ever since that, I said, you know what, I really want to learn about what the internet is about, and what we can do with it, and the world that you can explore through your mouse, through your keyboard, on a screen. But more than that, really understand how things get connected. So with this fascination, I got into IT and learn a bit more. I first focused on securing access for organizations, for enterprises to the internet, because while there's a lot of good things, there are also threat actors and actors that want to try and get access to your personal information. So I spent a fair amount of my career in security. And then what I really learned in the last couple of years is digital experience is becoming the most important thing for many organizations, for many customers, because everything is really relying on a digital infrastructure. And as a result, I ended up at ThousandEyes, which precisely solves this problem, which is giving insights into the digital experience for users connecting to applications in the cloud through various different type of networks. And I lead the technical team for Europe and for Asia Pac at ThousandEyes.
Excellent. You gave me a few flashbacks there of a world without smartphones and Wi-Fi and connecting via, I think mine was a US robotics modem. And
Mine too.
yeah, do you miss that sound of a connecting modem? Because I know I do.
Oh, I do too. And I don't, do you remember when we got the upgrade with compression with 56 kilobit per second?
Yeah.
That was like a massive acceleration. And when you think about it today, where we rely a lot more on digital networks, digital apps, or what have you, we just expect internet to be there everywhere.
Yeah.
With my kids, who are teenagers now, whenever we go on vacation and we would go somewhere in a hot place, they would never ask me, "Hey, Dad, is there air conditioning in that place?" They wouldn't care about that. They said, "Dad, is there Wi-Fi in the room?" That's what matters, because we want to keep on chatting with our friends and with our family. And that has really evolved, isn't it? But I do miss Neil. I do miss those days. It was really great, and it kind of gave you the thrill that you were accessing a new world, right? When you got
Yeah.
finally connected after those little beeping sounds, and when you got through.
But the only problem, of course, was nobody was able to use the house phone while you're on the internet. But so much has changed since then. And I think for a large part, a lot of people have almost forgotten or don't care how the internet works, because it's just always there wherever you go. Like you said, when you go on holiday, your kids just expect it in the Wi-Fi. So can I ask that you set the scene and explain how the internet really works and why its infrastructure is not really ready for modern cloud technologies?
First of all, mobility and applications in the cloud have made it so simple to connect and to just get access to information or to get access to a specific online app and perform a specific action. But indeed, in order to connect a user to the application, or in order to consume a content or to read the news, you don't go through one network, which we commonly call the internet. You actually go through multiple networks, which are connected between each others. And this connectivity is provided through service providers, ISPs, but ISPs connect among themselves through what we call, and I'll use a bit more technical term over here, which is peering agreements, in order to transport packets from one network to another one. And all these connectivity between those networks is very complex, because it has been designed to run at scale and at high speed. And once you get a packet from the point A, the user, workstation, laptop, mobile phone, getting to a destination, which is an application, you can traverse half of the world going through multiple type of circuits. And that complexity is increasing day after day, because we are relying more and more on digital tools and need to rely even more on the connectivity, which is becoming more complex. It's becoming more complex. And this is where our founders spend a lot of time to understand how the internet works. And they really built the infrastructure with the internet. So that's been very fascinating.
And brings us up nicely to ThousandEyes, which is a real-time map of the internet. So can you tell me more about how companies actually rely on ThousandEyes for instant visibility into what's breaking and where?
Yeah, so ThousandEyes is built on multiple agents which are collecting information from various different points. Those agents are running into the cloud, into different service provider networks, running into cloud providers too, such as AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and so on. And as they connect to different applications, they're discovering the path to get to the applications. So for instance, we've got an agent which is in Manchester. And as our customers leverage that agent, they decide to use that agent and say, can you connect from that agent? Can you simulate a user transaction to go to, let's say, salesforce.com, or let's say to Office 365? As they do that, the agent will automatically discover the path to get to the application and will report back that information to the ThousandEyes platform. While we collect this information from all those different agents we've got across the world, and also sitting inside corporate networks, because many customers want to discover the path from their own infrastructure, from their own network, we start to represent what the internet looks like at a given time. very much like a Google Maps or like a Waze of the traffic, and highlighting where the bottlenecks are on the infrastructure, and also where are the points where the traffic is being terminated because there's not enough capacity or because there's an outage which is occurring. And that's where it's the value which is being provided, which is this real-time view of how the internet is working, because we rely more and more on the internet, of course, but also because nobody can really give you a view end to end from how the internet is performing. But as we discover through those different agents, we can really represent and help our customers make the right decisions in terms of how to leverage the internet infrastructure.
And when I was researching you guys, I saw that the online community calls you the X-ray machine of the internet, which is incredibly cool. But where did that come from, and who coined that phrase?
Yeah, it's quite right. I mean, the X-ray terminology was actually used internally, and we coined it internally when one of our employees said, "Actually, it's like putting the whole internet into an X-ray machine and looking at it precisely how it is being built." And that is so true. But what is important to understand is, contrary to any other type of network that exists, the internet is massive, is really, really large. So to represent it in a map requires a lot of processing, requires a lot of data that is going to be running at scale, and that's what is that's the value that ThousandEyes really provides. But interesting, many people call ThousandEyes the X-ray machine of the internet, or also the Google Maps of the internet, or even I had a customer the other day who was saying, maybe you're a Waze of the internet. The more people use ThousandEyes, the more information we collect, and the more it helps the community to understand how the internet is performing at a given time, which is in a certain way very, very true.
Love that. And Cisco also famously acquired ThousandEyes some time ago. And I've got to ask, how much has changed since that acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, this acquisition has been really very, very exciting for us, but most importantly for our customers and also our partners. The acquisition was announced in May and closed in early August, if I'm not mistaken. What is really exciting from our customer standpoint is the fact that it's really being able to integrate into an overall platform, is being able to give visibility with other type of technologies that are sitting. And Cisco has really built networks, has really participated usually in building the internet. So, it made a lot of sense for ThousandEyes to get much closer to Cisco and really contribute as well to providing this intelligence and those insights along the way. But where we see a lot of leverage is what I would call client to cloud or user to cloud, and being able to help give the visibility across the whole journey that customers have with the Cisco portfolio, getting all these insight across the internet. Another large collaboration that we worked on since the acquisition is a lot of integration with another company which was acquired by Cisco many years ago, which is AppD, which provides insight on the application. And by putting together the network visibility, the network insights from ThousandEyes with very deep, comprehensive visibility on the application front from AppD, it really provides a very powerful platform for customers that this time can not only see into networks that don't know with ThousandEyes, but also can see into applications and optimizing the code at an application level with AppD, and all this completely integrated through one single platform. And that has been very, very exciting for many, many customers and partners throughout the industry. It's still early days of integration. We are collaborating with multiple different groups within Cisco to see how we can leverage the technology throughout. I'm sure we'll get to talk again in a few months, and I'll be able to share with you more details about how these integration are working. But what I can say is, in a very short time frame, we've been able to build some integration on the product front, on the value for our customers, and that's not always the case, right? So that's been very, very good to make it happen in such a short time frame.
And I think it's also worth highlighting that your clients include some pretty big names such as Microsoft, Slack, and Twitter. And there's a long, long list there. But you don't have to mention any names here. But do you have any use cases that you can share that would just help listeners understand more about what you do and how it might work in their world too?
Yeah, there are three main use cases that we provide to our customers. The first use case is what I will call outside in, and it's pretty much like the Slack and the Twitter users. So throughout the different agents which are sitting onto the cloud infrastructure, into the ThousandEyes infrastructure, and today we've got approximately 400 locations where we've got agents sitting. That they basically those customers use those agents to measure the response time from different points on the internet to their different applications and make the changes or understand about outages which are happening on different ISPs, on different link, or if there is any slowness which is happening on a specific area of the internet. And that's one of the very important use case, which is more related to customers that are putting on the internet applications which are mission critical, number one, or which also being that need to be accessed all the time and being optimized from a connectivity and also from a coding standpoint on the application level. So that's the first use case, which is looking from the outside to the inside. And then we started thinking about it and said, hey, why don't we reverse that point and make it from the inside to the outside? And that is becoming more and more popular, because with cloud transformation or customers leveraging more and more cloud apps such as Office 365, Salesforce, Workday, and what have you, and they want to be able to get insights into those infrastructures as they connect, and they see that they don't own anymore the application, or the application is not sitting anymore on-prem, but needing to get the visibility end-to-end to this application across networks that I don't own, such as the internet. So that's one of the use case, which is inside, going from the inside to the outside, and that's the employee digital experience use case. With that as well, we've seen a lot of customers with the recent health events using this as well for working from home and getting better telemetry and much better insights in terms of how the workstation is performing when it's connected at home, and am I close to my Wi-Fi, to my access point? Is the performance related more to my client or more to the internet? And finally, another use case is around modernizing the WAN infrastructure. As applications are moving to the cloud, as the internet is becoming the corporate network, and as the new application stack is the SaaS, you need to change the way enterprises are built infrastructure, and getting away from an MPLS-centric infrastructure through a private network infrastructure, more and more leveraging the internet, because the application is on the internet and no more inside the corporate network. And with benchmarking through our various different agents, connectivity to multiple ISPs, benchmarking performance going to multiple cloud providers and application, really helps our customers to maximize the digital value that they can get with leveraging the cloud and leveraging the internet. And how do I actually really make the best use of those new modern applications that are used today?
And of course, one of the biggest changes that we've seen this year in a record amount of time is the huge shift to digital. And everyone that was working in an office has, for the most part, been working from home for the last 6 months. And it's such an unprecedented move. And even on the news yesterday here in the UK, there was a hint that we might need to prepare for a digital Christmas. So I'm curious, have you seen, or how have you seen COVID affect networks all around the globe this year?
Nobody was really prepared to what happened. People being locked down at home, and companies having to close doors and ask their employees to work from home, and not only that, but it was also schools that had to close, and students had to work from home. And that was the case for my teenagers too. So nobody was prepared, and we had to rely ever more on the internet, because that was the only way to connect with partners, to connect with customers, to connect with the world, and even to continue the education for our children. So the internet became really the center of gravity of pretty much all what we were doing. And what we observed at ThousandEyes, and we spent a lot of time to look with our different vantage points about how the internet really performed before and comparing it during. And what we observed is that there was a big traffic shift going from the core of the internet, going much more to the edge, where before you would connect from a corporate office with a big link, going across British Telecom or Orange or whichever provider. Now you start to use your local providers or your consumer providers. So there was a lot of pressure, or a lot of the traffic really shifted a lot to the consumer provider standpoint. So there was a big shift of the traffic that occurred. And what this also meant, because nobody was prepared for it, and I include into those the service provider, we saw a big increase of outages that occurred between during the month of March, April, and even through May. And that increase was 63% globally compared to February. So if I use February as a baseline, when things were still open across the world, and I go into the month of March, when the countries in Europe started to lock down and people were working from home and so on, we saw an increase of around 63% of outages of ISPs. And an outage for an ISP, what does it really mean? It basically means you can't connect anymore to the internet, or you can't connect anymore to your application, and you have to wait until things get restored. While outages on the internet happen all the time, by the way, and these are maintenance and so on, what was really interesting during these months is that those outages lasted much, much longer than they lasted before the lockdown. And that typically lasted before the lockdown for about 1 or 2 minutes. So they were very micro outages that people wouldn't even perceive. And we often say the internet is like a dial tone, and that's why we've been experiencing it that way. But during lockdown, it was outages that lasted 10 minutes and even sometimes 30 minutes, whereby users could really feel it. I'm sure a few of our listeners have subscribed through Virgin Media. I know Virgin Media experienced quite a few outages during the month of April and May, as we were observing those through the internet. And not only Virgin Media, there were many other service providers as well that experienced those. So that was one of the key learning, is the fact that the traffic really shifted from the backbone all the way to the edge, and service provider had to react and had to do a lot of maintenance and had to re-engineer as well their network all the way through. Some of the other aspect as well that we learned is there was more outages on the ISP side than on the cloud provider themselves. One of the reason we believe that's the case is because the cloud providers such as AWS, such as Office 365 and Google and so on didn't see so many outages, was because they've designed their service to be very specific to delivering a specific capability to their customers, whereas an ISP has got more infrastructure and more physical infrastructure, and the cloud providers mostly use software to run the service. So that was a really interesting observation that we had throughout these different months. We also continue to see different outages throughout the different months, throughout the last weeks as well. There was a big outage that happened in the month of August, on the 30th of August exactly. It was a maintenance that was planned from CenturyLink level 3, same company, and that maintenance didn't actually work out well. And there was an administrative error that occurred where the outage lasted almost 5 hours, and there was more or less 4% of the internet which was in the dark. So it was a very, very big outage that was observed, which I think is point noting, because those outages continue to happen all the way through. And 5 hours to get it restored, which took quite some time and impacted quite a lot of the internet throughout the end of August.
And what does the web's future look like, do you think? And what role would Thousand Eyes play in that future? Because it feels like we've been through a huge transition period this year. And like you said before we started recording today, how as a human race, we all evolve and adapt. But what do you think the future looks like from here?
I think the world is in constant transformation, and that's the nature of who we are. We continue to evolve, we continue to transform, we continue to optimize the way we work, and so on. To answer your question more specifically about the recent events and how digital transformation is impacting, we fundamentally believe that there are going to be two big trends which are going to be emphasized even furthermore. First of all is remote work. People are going to be working more and more from home. I was talking to various different customers a couple of months ago, and I was asking them, so how is it going for you with being not having coming back to the office for many months, and do you want to go back? And one of them said, actually, our employees are much more productive. I said, well, that's great. And why is that? Because there's less commute which is happening, and they can fully leverage the digital tools that we've provided to them. I said that's one of the bigger learning as well, which is we've been able to learn how to use our tools to better adapt at home and work from home and use the internet more efficiently. So I think remote work is going to become more and more important, and I think that's starting to happen pretty much across as we are learning to say, well, we can actually do a lot of work remotely. So I'm not suggesting that there is no more going to be office work, et cetera. Far away from that. I think we still need to connect, in person and socially and get into team meetings and so on. But I think we've learned to have meetings with video and others efficiently with the tools which are provided. For me, the year of 2020 is the year of the video, right? I mean, I always have been turning on the video at home and getting virtual meetings very, very efficient that way. The second big trend is the dependency on the cloud. Companies who have leveraged a cloud-first strategies, who have been leveraging applications into the cloud, have been more resilient than others. And that's really one of the interesting part to think about moving forward, which is in order to continue to stay resilient, in order to continue to evolve, the dependency on the cloud is fundamental, because that really enables organization to benefit from optimized applications, from agility, and being able to communicate very efficiently as well. And then the last one is the internet is the backbone, is the corporate network. Today, if there wouldn't have been the internet, I don't think companies would have still been able to communicate, would have still been able to do business, and that's going to continue to evolve. And we believe that ThousandEyes has got a very important role to play with all these different transformation, because by discovering, by understanding, by sharing how the internet works and how it is performing at a given time, we can help organization customers to better leverage the internet and therefore get optimized access to those applications.
Before I let you go, I've got to ask, because we've covered a lot of ground today, can you remind everyone listening of where they can find you online and also contact your team if they've got any questions after listening to our conversation today?
Definitely. So first of all, I'd recommend our listeners to go to thousandeyes.com website, where they'll find a lot of different resources on the side, and also there is an interactive real-time map which shows how the internet is performing at a given time. I know we talked a lot about Google Maps and Waze and so on. We do have that for the internet, and it's on thousandeyes.com/outages, and you can see almost in real time how the internet is performing and be able to assess if there is a specific outage which is happening at a location, etc. And you can see the platform into action. Another one which I would encourage everybody to look out for is different reports and different research we do, because while we've got all these different agents and get an understanding of what is the different path is, being able to have some key takeaways on how to better be prepared for what's happening. So maybe some advice I'll share with our listeners. Be ready and plan as much as you can, and plan with data, with insights and understanding on how internet is working, and how the data is moving across the internet, and how the cloud providers as well are working. Another key learning as well is we rely more and more on third parties, and being able to understand how these third parties are working with each other and getting more insights, I think is going to be fundamental. And then I think it's collaboration, collaborating, with the rest of the industry and the rest of the peers. I think is also one of the key points to help, and can definitely access a lot of our experts through the portal, and request as well a lot of collaboration throughout the website.
I love that. And like we were saying earlier, I think it is all about planning, evolving and adapting. But one of the things that I'd love chatting with you about today is that vision of you. The first time that you plugged in that US robotics modem in the 90s, that it would actually one day lead to you helping clients understand how the internet and networks work across the world, solving connection complexities from global networks to users working from home and browsing in almost any location. Quite a story, and thank you so much for taking the time to come on here and share it with me today.
Thank you, Neil, for having me. I appreciate it.
Wow, absolutely love chatting with Yogi today, especially on that journey of nostalgia, talking about where the internet began on those US robotics modems. And man, the sound of that modem connecting was something else, wasn't it? And for those of you that are too young to remember such a sound, let me tell you, when you heard this sound, it was one of the sweetest sounds that you could ever hear in your life. That was the gateway to another world. Man, I'm showing my age now. But I just love chatting today about how the internet really works, why its infrastructure might not be as ready for modern cloud technologies as some would have us believe, but also how COVID has affected networks around the globe, and what the future of the web looks like. Incredibly exciting stuff. But I'd love to hear your insights, your tales of the internet past, experiences, questions, whatever it may be. Please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk, and my social channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you prefer to go on, you can find me at Neil C. Hughes. But that's it from me and today's episode. I'm going to kick back and relax and have a good old-fashioned browsing session on the internet now. So remember to set those message rules to prevent those and separate those Cyber Monday and Black Friday emails. A little bit of homework for you there. Other than that, I'll speak to you again tomorrow, where I have another guest waiting for you. So thanks for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.